I stood frozen, watching in disbelief as bulldozers ripped through my family's land that had been ours for 3 generations. Overnight, my property line had inexplicably shifted, all thanks to the cunning 35-year-old HOA manager, Emily Carter, who had secretly teamed up with casino developers. I confronted her and the smug construction supervisor, David Pierce, right there on my property, just as you'd see in a video. They assumed this 58-year-old retiree would quietly accept their market value offer and walk away. What they didn't realize was that I held something they desperately needed, something that could derail their $300 million project entirely. Would you have given up or fought back like I did? 35 years ago, at 23, I bought this 5-acre plot on the edge of town. Back then, it was just open fields with a little creek winding through it. I built my house by hand, planted every tree standing today. This land cradled memories, my kids' first steps, my daughter's wedding under the big oak, and the peaceful evenings I spent with my wife, watching the sunset before she passed. Now, at 58, I was ready to savor retirement in this slice of paradise. The property sits on a gentle hill with sweeping views that real estate agents always coveted. Prime real estate, they'd say, knocking on my door with offers I consistently turned down. Over the years, our quiet rural area changed, first with a few homes, then a shopping center, and eventually the upscale Pinewood Estates subdivision with its polished HOA. When my land was annexed into their jurisdiction through some county rezoning, I didn't think much of it. The HOA fees were fair, and they promised road upkeep and security. That's when I met Emily Carter, the new HOA manager. She couldn't have been older than 35, always dressed for a corporate office, clipboard in hand, her sleek BMW parked in the reserved spot. Just checking compliance, she'd say with a smile that never quite reached her eyes whenever she stopped by. There were hints I should have caught, the way she'd linger, eyeing my property, asking about my plans. Ever thought about downsizing, Mr. Harper? That's a lot of land for one person, she'd muse. Or, this area's growing fast. Property values could triple soon with the right projects. I brushed it off. This was my home, my sanctuary, where I intended to spend my days in peace. Little did I know, behind her polite demeanor, a scheme was already unfolding to strip it all away. The first real warning came when I spotted surveyors on my land one Tuesday morning. They wore plain uniforms, no company logos, and claimed they were from the utility company, checking water lines. But they seemed more focused on my property boundaries than any pipes. "You folks lost," I called out, strolling over with my coffee. "Just routine checks, sir," one mumbled, barely glancing up. HOA approved. That night, driving by the HOA office after a hardware store run, I saw 4 dark SUVs and a car with government plates in the lot. Odd for 7 p.m. on a weekday. The blinds were shut, but shadows moved around what looked like a table inside. A week later, my property tax reassessment arrived. My valuation had spiked 40%, while neighbors saw only slight bumps. When I called the county assessor, the clerk stammered about regional development factors before shuffling me to an unanswered voicemail. Then came a flurry of HOA citations I'd never heard of. My garden shed was non-compliant. My fence needed architectural approval. My mailbox was non-standard. I marched to the HOA office to challenge them and met Daniel Brooks, the new HOA president, a stocky 52-year-old with a politician's grip and a developer's sharp gaze. "We're just updating standards, Mr. Harper," he said, leaning back in his leather chair. "The board's pushing for progress now that big things are coming to Pinewood Estates." "What big things?" I pressed. "Economic growth," he replied vaguely. "Good for everyone's property values." On my way out, I overheard Emily on the phone. "Yes, we're moving forward as planned. The Harper property's the last holdout." "No, I don't expect trouble." I asked neighbors, but they clammed up. My next-door neighbor, Tom, whispered, "They've been holding secret meetings about a big developer eyeing our area." "That's all I know." "Why the secrecy?" I asked. He glanced around nervously. "Those who dig too deep get buried in violations." My advice? Keep quiet or sell while prices are high. Selling wasn't an option. This was my history, my home. I just didn't yet grasp the scale of what I was facing or how ruthless they'd be to get it. The truth hit 3 weeks later in the local paper's business section. luxury casino resort set for Pinewood Estates. $300 million project to transform region. My coffee mug crashed to the kitchen floor. The artist's sketch showed a sprawling complex, pools, parking lots, smack on my land. I drove to the HOA office, paper in hand, and burst in. Emily, Daniel, and several suited men stood around a blueprint, startled as I stormed up. Emergency board meeting, Emily said, blocking me. Members aren't allowed. Is this why you've been measuring my land? I slammed the paper down. A casino on my property? Daniel coughed, glancing at the others. Let's discuss this privately, Mr. Harper. Nothing private about what you've already decided in secret, I snapped. One suit stepped forward. Mr. Harper, I'm Victor Lang from Pinnacle Casino Group. We're offering fair market value plus 20% for your land. My home's not for sale, I said firmly. Emily sighed. The project's approved by the HOA board, moving ahead regardless. How can you approve selling my land without my consent? Daniel slid a paper over. Section 12, Paragraph 3 of the HOA bylaws. The board can use limited eminent domain for community benefit projects. Amended last year. I never voted on that, I protested. It was in the newsletter, Emily said dismissively. All homeowners were notified. My mind reeled. Had I missed it? This is theft, I said. Victor cleared his throat. We'll relocate you to a luxury condo, plus the cash. 60 days. That's your formal notice, Emily added, handing me an envelope. As I left, I heard someone mutter, will this be an issue? Daniel's reply chilled me. Nothing fines and violations can't fix. He's on a fixed income. He'll cave. I clutched the notice, fury rising. They'd schemed for months, tweaking rules, shifting lines, and now an ultimatum. 60 days to leave the home I'd built. That night, on my porch, staring at the land they wanted, I vowed this wasn't over. Next morning, machinery woke me. I rushed out in my bathrobe to see a bulldozer and excavators at my property's edge, staking a line 20 feet into what had always been mine. Emily stood there in a crisp green shirt and hard hat, chatting with a burly man in his mid-50s wearing a gray Pinnacle construction polo. James Carter, the supervisor. What's happening? I shouted. Emily's smile wavered. This is James, our construction supervisor. We're correcting property lines per county records. My line's been set for 35 years, I said, pointing to my fence beyond their stakes. You can't redraw it overnight. James stepped up, chest out. Plans are approved, pal. Every delay costs thousands. The line's what the county says it is. I'm calling the police, I said, pulling out my phone. Emily intervened. No need. We have permits. Perhaps you misunderstood yesterday. This is happening. Neighbors peeked out, watching silently. You're trespassing, I said. Get your gear off my land. James leaned in, voice low. Accidents happen on sites, especially with uncooperative folks. That a threat? I asked. Just a fact, he smirked. Think about that offer. It's your best shot. What they didn't know? My phone was recording it all. I sought allies, but neighbors avoided me. Tom explained. They offered us tax freezes if the casino goes through. Oppose it, and you're targeted. I've got kids in college. I can't fight. Only Mrs. Ellis, a 70-year-old widow, spoke up. Talk to Henry Miles, she whispered. Retired county surveyor on Oak Street. He'd know about shifted lines. Henry, 72, with weathered hands and keen eyes, studied my deed over coffee. This happens too often, he said. Your original landmarks, the old elm at Hilltop Corner and the creek bend, were altered. The elm's gone from road work, and the creek's rerouted. They're exploiting that to claim errors. So it's legal? Technically, yes. Morally, no. 3 lawyers gave me the same bleak outlook. Fighting the HOA and developers would be costly with slim odds. HOAs have gained power, one said. With their eminent domain clause and county backing, it's tough. Defeated, I sat on my porch that night, the sunset over land I might lose. Then, in my shed, amid my late wife's things, I found a metal box, my grandfather's lockbox. Inside were aged papers, the 1937 deed, maps, and a document titled Water Rights Adjudication. My heart raced. This wasn't just about land, it was what lay beneath. Suddenly, I knew why they wanted it so badly. The document revealed my grandfather had secured control over the underground Clear Spring Aquifer, a vast, pure water reserve. His journal noted, "They want the water, not the land. Without Clear Spring, no big project thrives here." The casino needed water for pools, fountains, and guests. My land was their key. I called Henry. Know a water rights lawyer? 2 days later, I met Margaret Lopez, a sharp water law expert. "These rights are gold," she said, reviewing the papers. "You can veto water-intensive projects. They'll fight, but these predate modern laws, rock solid. What can I do? Stop the casino or force negotiations? Your call," she said. She filed injunctions, and I watched James Carter fume as work halted. Emily and Victor Lang confronted me. "What's this water rights nonsense?" Emily snapped. "My family's controlled Clear Spring since 1937, I said. "Your casino dies without it." Victor's smirk faded. "No records showed this. They're state registered, not county," I replied. Emily offered triple market value. "Not about money," I said. "This is my home." News spread. I gave interviews, started Save Clear Spring online, and gained thousands of followers. The developers retaliated. My mailbox trashed, cameras stolen, fines piled up. They thought I'd break. They were wrong. Henry's contact, Clara Evans, dug into county records. My boundaries had been altered by Deputy Recorder Paul Grayson, Daniel Brooks' brother-in-law. Emily's past tied her to Pinnacle's parent company. An original environmental study, buried, warned the casino would drain local wells. With Margaret, I filed a state complaint for conspiracy and fraud. Days later, Emily, James, and a county official, Commissioner Allen, pressured me. "Your water rights don't apply," Emily claimed. "Check with your lawyers," I said. "State law protects them." James lunged, but froze. My neighbor's camera was rolling. At the hearing, Margaret dismantled their case. Emily stumbled under questioning about her ties. Daniel admitted job promises. Judge Reynolds ruled in my favor, voiding boundary changes and upholding my water rights. Victor offered $10 million. I countered with terms, a water trust, HOA reform, a park, and scholarships. After tense talks, they agreed. 6 months later, my land became Harper Park, the casino curved around it, and the community thrived. Proof one stubborn retiree could outmatch greed.